Okay, looks like I'm just making sure we're live on YouTube. Here we are. All right. All right, well, it's just 7:30. So I think we can kick off the meeting. So thank you everyone for joining us. And I'm unmuted, so it's all good. All right. Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10-4-10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertising such notice in the Home News Tribune, the Asbury Park Press, the Board Office, the schools, and on Cablevision Channel 118 and Bios Channel 24, and by filing such notice with the Township Clerk. This meeting was scheduled for Tuesday, November 24th, 2020. The board will take formal action on payment of bills and on other agenda items. Mr. Merrill, please.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis Foster. The Old Bridge Township Board of Education acknowledges that the law of this state establishes that members of the public, including members of the board, have the right to record public board meetings using audio or video recording devices, provided that that act of recording does not interfere with the business of this public board meeting. Therefore, the board makes it known that any such recording is to be considered a private recording of the individual and in no manner represents the official record of this board. The board therefore takes no responsibility for such private recording and completely disavows any future use.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Burns?
Here.
Ms. Kelly?
Here.
Ms. DeCaro?
Here.
Mr. DePrima?
Here.
Mr. Dunn?
Here.
Mr. Giordano?
Here.
Ms. Lent?
Here.
Mr. Solikowski?
Present.
Ms. Ellis Foster?
Here.
Quorum exists.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. If we can all stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the
to the
flag
flag of the
of the
United
United States of America and to the republic
for which it
which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under
under
God,
God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice
for
for
all.
all.
Thank you, everyone. And if I would ask everyone for a moment of silence, those standing, please stand, that the board acknowledges the death of Grace Lynn Lutwin from Sodexo, and we express our deepest sympathy to her family and friends. Thank you, everyone. Again, thank you for joining us this evening. And we'll actually kick off with our Code of Ethics Corner. And Mrs. Kelly, I believe you
Yes,
volunteered this week.
the Code of Ethics Corner highlight of the month. The board member will support and protect school personnel in proper performance of their duties.
Thank you. On the agenda, first up, we have approval of the minutes. We have from October. If I could have a motion, please.
Lent will move it.
Thanks, Mrs. Lent. Can I have a second?
Callie will second.
Thanks, Mrs. Callie. Any discussion, comments? Seeing none, roll call, please, Mr. Mara.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
DeCaro?
Yes.
DePrima?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Giordano?
Yes.
Ms. Lent?
Yes.
Mr. Solikowski?
Yes.
Ms. Ellis Foster?
Yes.
Resolution 1 passes.
Thank you. So first up, I'm going to stop sharing so we can all see him. We have our high school representative, Dan Rita.
Hi to everyone again. As you may know, my name is Danny Rita, and I am the Old Bridge High School 2020 to 2021 school president. Staying strong through this virtual year, we have been making the most of what we can and every day reminding ourselves that we are going to do great things this year. And just a reminder that we are always here for everyone if anyone ever needs anything at all. As we do every year, Old Bridge High School is getting behind AJ Silvestri and supporting his Make-A-Wish campaign. This year, the campaign looks a little different than usual because AJ has paired up with Jillian Bresnick. They have renamed the campaign to the Believe in Unicorns campaign in memory of Jillian's sister, Kendall, who was a Southwood student that we unfortunately lost this past spring to brain cancer. We are collecting all wishes virtually, and if anyone is interested in the link to submit a wish, you can email us at studentsenate@obps.org, and we will send you the link. For every wish that is made, Macy's donates $1 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. The community of Old Bridge also is in the process of helping out one of our own. We have a 9th grader who is in the hospital currently battling leukemia, and we are putting together fundraisers to support Bryce and his family, which includes selling stickers and t-shirts with a catchphrase of, "As a knight, no one fights alone." As you shop around Old Bridge in the next few weeks, you may see some jars at the registers asking for loose change to donate to Bryce's family, and we are calling that the Loose Change for Love campaign. If you can donate anything, we would greatly appreciate it. And the clubs of the high school also have been involved in creating a virtual Get Well card with personal messages for Bryce to make him happy during this tough time. The Senate board has continued to meet virtually weekly in order to keep coming up with new events and activities to keep us together while we are apart. You can keep up with all the new and exciting events by following us on our Twitter at SenateOB. And as always, we got this, Old Bridge, and we got you.
Thank you, Dan. I just had a thought, and I don't know if we could, some of the fundraisers that are going on, I know they might be out on Senate and such. Could we put those also on the district site potentially?
Yeah, definitely. I can get the links to you.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Anyone have anything for Dan? I think there's just fabulous, wonderful things that help support everybody. So thank you. Anyone else?
Dan, just if you can email them to me, I'll make sure they get on the site. Just a thought I had with the Loose Change for Love for Bryce. I know I met with the township representatives today. We had a very successful COVID testing drive where the parking lot, all the way to GNC was packed. If we kind of like took what they do at the firehouses and put like a garbage can out there, and as people drive by, they empty their the change from within their car and could drop it in as they drive by on both sides. Somebody doesn't even have to man it. They could just kind of put signage up and have people drop their changes to go by. That might be a good way to pick up some extra spare change for love.
Yeah, that would definitely be good.
I just want to say thank you to you and your peers for keeping all this stuff going during these difficult times. Good job.
Of course.
Dan, you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you again, Dan. Now next, having big shoes to fill, we'll move on to Mr. Cittadino's report. Here we go.
Thank you, Madam President. We're just going to go over some of the data, some new data in here from COVID as it impacts the school district. Some of the data that we have here is some of the information we had from last week at an agenda meeting, but there's some new stuff as well. So we go to our second slide. This is reflective of, again, the increase in daily cases. And I have today's data as they get towards the end of the slide, but this is what we're looking at as we had presented to the task force last week, our 7-day average. And, sadly enough, the 7-day average has increased from just last week. On the next slide, we're going to look at the hospitalized patients in New Jersey. Obviously, we see a big increase from August to September. Now, these are hospitalized with COVID related symptoms. One of the things that, people would kind of dispel, well, the numbers are up because we're testing more. Well, that's not relative to the number of people in the hospitals. Just because you're testing more doesn't mean more people are hospitalized with COVID. So obviously, we're seeing an increase in patients that are impacted to the level that they have to be hospitalized. And taking up. Obviously, space in the hospital impacts the care that you can receive. When you have more people in there at the same time, it spreads the resources even thinner. So that's what kind of makes it such an emergency within the community in the state of New Jersey and the United States as a whole. I think you skipped a few slides, because there's an ICU slide, I think, too. Okay, so, and these are patients with ICU that are in the ICU, obviously beyond hospitalized and using ventilators and such in the ICU units. Obviously, again, alarming number has increased across the state of New Jersey, and the numbers are even higher again this week than last week. This data is kind of like a week's worth of information. The week of July 31st, we had 1 COVID case in the township the whole week. You remember that's significant because August 4th, we had to present our reopening reentry plan to the public. And that's the data we had to use at that time. Obviously now looking at last week's data, there was an increase, and this is over the course of 1 week, not the Monday to Monday that Old Bridge uses, but I didn't have that data at the time when I was using it. So it was the week of the 16th, and obviously an increase that week of 154 cases for the week in Old Bridge. So this is NJ.com's data, and I find what is troubling here. You're looking at the 24th. Our 7-day average is 4,000. Last week's data, like I showed you, was mid threes. Now we're looking at a 7-day average of 4,000. Today's new cases are 4,275. When we started planning the process for reentry back in early July, the 7-day average was in the 150 range to 200 range. Now we're looking at a 7-day average around 4,000. And you could see for the first time in a long time, we're actually above the spring numbers. The worst we were in the spring, we are at that or above that number right now in this wave of COVID-19, which obviously is the reason why New Jersey was moved to the majority of New Jersey was moved to a high risk region. And this is just Middlesex County. So our 7-day average is 338 cases. And as of the 24th, we have 456 cases reported throughout the county. Again, that number just below our highest springtime total, which was in April. So this is our most up-to-date information on how it's impacted the school district. You can see as of today, we have 14 staff members that are positive, and 49 were in quarantine, which is good. We dropped it from 74, and that is a rolling number. Kind of changes as we go on, as staff members will go into a 14-day quarantine, and after the 14-day comes out. Obviously, the more impact they have in school, and it's not so much of the contraction or the transmission of the virus that's the biggest problems in the school. It's the contact tracing, the close contacts that we have. So when anyone comes into school and then tests positive within 48 hours of being in school, we do the contact tracing process as prescribed by the Department of Education. And any close contacts that anybody who more than 15 minutes over a certain period of time are going to be people that are deemed as close contacts that you have to remove and quarantine for 14 days. So currently, there's roughly 50 staff members who are quarantined, and if done properly, will not be spending the Thanksgiving with their immediate family. When quarantine, you should be isolating yourself at home. And there's even new information coming out from the Department of Health in reference to living arrangements at home, whether the person at home should be quarantining. Now the Department of Health is leaning that way now as the numbers of cases are increasing. Our student positivity number has increased, even though we have been on remote for the past few days. Again, a lot of the student cases are cases that we can trace to outside. And we had, I think the football team came off quarantine, a lot of those members. So we dropped down to 159 to 143. But again, while that comes down, some go up as the number of students go up that are in quarantine. We still have 13 cases pending out there, and that may be someone who's symptomatic but hasn't been tested yet, or looking for an alternative diagnosis. Don't go yet. One of the most concerning ones was this past week, I put a notification out about a Memorial School student. And when Miller School went full remote for 2 weeks, that was because we could not ascertain with any reliability where the COVID was coming from. We had 3 members of the community, the school community at Miller, who tested positive, who had no contact of positives outside the school. No friends were positives, no family members at home were positive. The only thing they had in common was Miller School. Even though we were unsure of how it would be transmitted in school. So we contacted the Department of Health, and according to the CDC and Department of guidelines, Miller School was placed on remote learning for 2 weeks. Now at Memorial School, even though we just had started the remote, it would have been placed on remote anyway, because it was one of the first cases in which we can, with confidence, determine that the COVID case that we just reported was related to contact within the school, within another peer within the school, having tested positive. We took the student, placed the student on quarantine, and then the student tested positive without any contact outside of being with a positive person within, obviously friends or family out on the outside. So the only contact to a positive person happened in school, and the transmission of the virus, we believe, came from in-school contact as well. And that was, of course, reported to the Department of Health. And that would have been another instance if we had not already been in a remote learning situation, that we would have been on remote learning because of that at Memorial School. You can see the total numbers there at the bottom. Over the course of this, 198 staff members have been impacted through COVID, and 305 staff students. This is the data from the last day in which we tracked it, because we were in person learning, and these are the number of classes or staff members that were unfilled on that day. Obviously, that became one of our biggest obstacles as we were going through this. Every time we had a reported case, whether it was reported from, again, majority reported from outside school contact, it was the contact tracing as required by the Department of Health that we were, for lack of a better term, hemorrhaging staff on the inside. We would have 3 cases during the course of a day and lose 20 to 24 staff members through close contacts. And it became difficult for us to staff our classrooms. As of right now, we average, prior to being remote, we had an average about 6 to 8 steady substitutes. Substitutes are very difficult to find right now. So in the years past, when even we had the flu season or anything else, that's how we would have handled it, through substitutes. At this point with the COVID, it's very difficult to find substitutes. So we do it through class coverage. Class coverage means we pay a staff member to fulfill the class for another teacher during their off period. Well, when you're reducing the number of staff that you have available in the first place, you have left staff off on certain periods that you can cover the classes with. So it came to a point where I went to our assistant superintendent of personnel, Dr. Hoker, and I said, where are we at with staffing as of tomorrow? And we were still open on that Friday, but we had to contact parents to let them know, because of the dire situation we're in with staffing, to please keep their children home, because we did not have enough staff to safely open for all of our classes on Friday. So if it was, especially like an elementary classroom, we have 1 or 2 teachers, we just asked the parents to keep their children home. The high school students, they could have 2 or 3 teachers during the day, but if 1 teacher is absent, they would go to a shared area where they can be online and still be supervised and get their learning online remotely through the teacher who may have been home because of quarantine. So that was a problem that we were having, and a lot of the larger districts that I talked to, superintendents also having a very similar problem. And while some have stayed remote, never opened, or were in an open situation like we were, hybrid, but then went to remote. So this is the information that came out from the New Jersey Health department last week. It comes to us, the superintendents, through the links network that provides us and first responders with information as to the state of the health of the state through COVID. And last week, for the first time, as you can see in orange, we have not been orange since May and of 2020. And it put most of the state overall in high risk situation, and the majority of the state, except for the Southeast, in a high risk situation. What does that mean? We're going to go to the next slide and find out. So this is information that is updated and provided as Department of Health. It's based on the science in which they give to us. Now, there are people in political offices who make their recommendations and suggestions based upon their feelings, but in education, you have to use what's given to you by the offices of science. So when we were at a yellow area, which we were since most of the fall, we were using their recommendations. Consider a mixture of remote and hybrid. That's what we were doing. When we had a low risk area, then evaluate alternatives for in-person, but look for opportunities for in-person education. So now that we've rented a high risk, the Department of Health has clarified for us that we should be considering implementing fully remote learning at this time because of the number of cases. Now, we'll see what tomorrow brings. They usually update it towards the end of the week. If we're going to be at very high risk because our numbers across the state are actually higher than they were in the spring, we'll see where that leads us. But that consideration, the top line there, and when it came to me from the Department of Health in an email in paragraph form, not by the chart they always give us, it was highlighted. Consider implementing full remote education as of today's report. So then I reached out to our attorney. I said, this is concerning for me because let's say, worst case scenario, one of my students, one of my staff members becomes seriously ill or worse. What is the board's liability? And has their liability increased now that there's a document out there that's saying the Department of Health is recommending to us, or not even recommending, it's basically telling us that we should be considering remote only education. And if we defied that direction or defied that recommendation and something happened to a staff member or a student, wouldn't the first thing an attorney would say is, well, you defied the Department of Health's guidance. The Department of Health was telling you that they would recommend that you consider putting everyone on remote learning. So I asked our attorney that question. I don't know if he wants to weigh in. I don't want to put him on a spot, but Chris, do you want to go over your response to me?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that, Dave. This we did have that discussion, and it was an important one to have. This chart that's on your screen right now is actually page 3 from the September 8th Rules of Engagement that was promulgated by the New Jersey Department of Health. These are very similar to a series of speed limits on a series of different types of streets, and it was produced for you before you came back to regular education this year. And the colors also correspond to the street analogy. This rule has been in effect since the get-go. When things get bad enough, the Department of Health has always said, regardless of where the executive orders have stood, you need to consider going fully remote. Unfortunately, based on the slides, the last couple of slides, and the data at the first couple of slides that Mr. Cittadino showed, there's no question that your liability goes up. If you're speeding, you're undertaking a risk. If you're violating Department of Health regulations and recommendations regarding public health, certainly there's risk there to the people that you're responsible for, and in a different way, risk to yourselves as the administration and board of a school district. So we did that discussion. Dave, you're certainly accurately saying what I told you, and that advice remains. And if you look at the newspaper headlines, this is not the only district making these decisions, difficult though they may be. It's becoming a very clear trend statewide, and it's very unfortunate, but that doesn't make it any less true.
Thank you, Mr. Barton. So the next slide is, how do we respond to this? How do we deal with this situation? And I couldn't be more proud of this partnership that we have with the township, and I have to really commend the mayor, Hamachu Shaw, who's the BA there, Rose Rivoli, who's been they're kind of their point person in this process, the OEM, Tom Garrity, Mike Petschauer, even Ruth over there is a good friend of mine with the CERT team. Just everyone pitching in to make this possible. That, and I talked to superintendents, and I looked and I shared that the county testing. There's no other township-driven mass testing going on. Everything else is coming through the county. To have a partnership like this with the township, the Board of Education, working together to put this out for the people during this time really speaks volumes to how much everyone that I just mentioned and so on, you know, the OEM, the police department, Pat does a great job giving us the information, is so caring for this community, because the information is clear. Social distancing, wearing a face covering, and getting tested. Testing those asymptomatic people who have the potential to spread the virus, but don't know they're spreading it because they're asymptomatic. That's the way you defeat the virus outside of a vaccine. Now, we have all the hopes in the world for a vaccine soon, but as of right now, this is our best measure. We had 3 days worth of testing. I know it was frustrating for some people because people said, well, I had to wait in line for 3 hours. Go anywhere you want to go right now to get tested. You're going to wait in line or told to come back 4 or 5 hours later. To have to wait in line in your car is better than waiting in line outside, which I've seen a lot of the walk-up locations that are around the area. So, and I know that, you know, many of the people that I've spoken to have already gotten the results. The lab, Synergy Lab, which is over there on 35 in Aberdeen, he's pledging and working as hard as he doesn't want to call it a promise. He's working a test to get results in 24 hours is like earth-shattering. Right now, PCR tests are averaging anywhere from 3 to 6 days. So the fact that he has his own lab and is testing his own samples allows us to get this out to you faster. As today, he told me his estimate is we tested 1,300 people today. The same excellent people earlier. Oh, did I freeze? Frozen? Oh, not frozen anymore?
No, but I think you're okay now.
Okay.
You're back.
I talked to him earlier. We're going to look for days, coming weeks as well to keep this going. So that is in conclusion of my portion of the report. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get a hotspot and see if I can make my connection a little better. But I'm going to have Kathy give us a little update on the Wednesday schedule and the committee she's forming. And then after that, have Dr. Tui chime in and give us some information about a new directive we're giving to our students who are learning remotely. Thank you very much.
All right, Dr. Hoker.
All right, thank you. So I'll start with the committee because that's more exciting. I think everybody can recognize that we're in for some challenges in the next few months, however long the remote learning lasts and getting through the holidays and trying to stay together without being together. I've talked to some of our administrators and asked for volunteers to sit on a committee. We are calling it the Positivity Committee, trying to get together. We want to have some parent representatives, some student representatives, staff representatives to come together and come up with strategies to keep us together, keep our students engaged and motivated, and to support our not only our students, but our parents and our staff to get through the next few months. So just some of the things that we've talked about already are Mr. Cittadino and I have done lunch bunch with our elementary students, trying to figure out a way, how do we do that virtually? We ran field day in the springtime and brought the whole district together with a little bit of competition. What kinds of things can we do similar to that? Maybe athletic challenges in the new year. Again, little competition can kind of bring people together, different events and support systems to just get us through the hard times. The other thing that we just wanted to mention and is on our website is the schedule for tomorrow. We do have an official early dismissal for not just students, but for staff. So at each of our levels, the elementary school will run its early dismissal day, starting period 1 at 9:10 a.m. and ending their day at 1:10. So that is for staff and students. There are no afternoon classes. The middle schools will begin their day at 8 a.m. with period 1, and their end of day is at 12 noon. So no afternoon classes there either. The high school schedule, first period starts at 8:25. There are office hours at 7:35, but the school day ends after fourth period at 11:40 a.m. So again, our staff also have an early dismissal tomorrow. There are no classes or no afternoon office hours for tomorrow. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Dr. Tui?
Thank you, Dr. Hooker. As we're looking to improve our in-person and remote instruction techniques within our current instructional model, we're continuously reevaluating how we're presenting information to students through our, unfortunately, currently full remote model. This would have gone into effect either way if we stayed in our hybrid model or went to full remote. But effective on Monday, November 30th, kindergarten through 8th grade students will be expected to utilize their camera for live instruction. One of the things that we have found is that students can potentially be disengaged during the live instruction feature if they're not necessarily using their camera. So we are going to ask parents, students, and staff to utilize their camera during the live instruction model for K through 8. The high school students have been a little bit more engaged from the feedback that we've gotten from the high school administration and teachers. Therefore, we're looking for all Albridge High School students to utilize their live camera for classroom attendance and all classroom assessments. Additionally, for both K through 8 and also for the high school, teachers will have the discretion to determine when the cameras can be on and utilized during live instruction. So if a teacher is looking to have a little bit more live instruction on a Monday or a Tuesday, and potentially some more asynchronous instruction on Thursday and Friday, that would be at the discretion of the teacher. However, for K through 8, we are expecting to have the students utilize their camera for live instruction, and at the high school for attendance, for assessments, and then additionally, when the high school teachers are deeming it necessary overall for the classroom instruction. The district overall acknowledges that the students might experience some anxiety or stress, and parents might have some concerns about privacy issues when utilizing the camera. Therefore, the district has set up a procedure to process potential camera exemptions for students and parents. To seek a camera exemption, you would contact your student's school counselor and/or their child study team case manager to set up a meeting to review your concerns. Subsequent to the parent meeting, the school counselor or CST will contact the building principal, and any camera exemption if any camera exemption would be granted, the student's teachers would be notified through the building principal. This camera exemption outline will be on the district website tomorrow morning. Parents can reference that if they have any questions. But beginning on Monday, November 30th, the district expectation is that cameras will be on for live instruction with the help to more thoroughly engage our students on a day-to-day basis in this all remote setting. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tui. One of the things that we can talk about too is like even like if there's a situation, let's say I was in my bedroom right now and I didn't make my bed and I decided that I wanted to put this virtual background up. A student could do that as well, correct?
Correct, absolutely. And we can help facilitate that too.
Right. The key is to see the engagement, to make sure that, especially when doing assessments, that our students there, they're prepared to take the assessment and so forth, and not really to see what's going on in the background. All right, Madam President, that takes care of the progress towards goals and our superintendent's report.
Thank you. I just have one question is, out on our tech resources, do we have the instructions on how to make a virtual screen in Teams? We don't have to answer that now. If we can check on that, maybe that would be something helpful to have out there in case people don't know how to put them on. Thank you.
I was going to suggest maybe you, Mrs. Lent, and Mrs. Callie could
Good too, sorry.
Not me, I had help.
And then will an announcement or something be sent home to the parents explaining about the camera use? So that everyone is aware?
Yes.
Okay.
It's going home with the weekend update on Wednesday.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Savino. I guess we'll go correspondences. Mr. Mara, do we have any correspondences?
No correspondence.
Okay. I don't believe we have any special committee reports for this month. I think next month we will have some.
I did have a.
Wait, what about the athletics? Yeah.
Yeah, so I apologize. I usually like to read an in-depth report on what transpired. I did not have it ready. Kelly and I spoke earlier. We're going to hold off till next month on what happened.
I agree. Thanks, Al. Yeah, and I know later we'll have policies where we can talk about that. Next is hearing of the residents on agenda items only. So as a reminder, this is for any comments or questions on anything on the agenda only. At the end of the meeting, there is, again, our other public hearing portion on any item whatsoever. So if you are on the Zoom call and you will have a comment on an agenda item, if you can just raise your hand. If you're on the phone and you have a comment or question on an agenda item, if you hit *9. Let me just see. Okay. Second, all right. I do not see anyone at this point raising a hand, so we will move on with the agenda, and again, we'll have our other comment period at the end. So first up, policy. We have 2 second readings today, and then a list for first reading. So if I could have a motion for 1 and 2 on policies.
Lent will move it.
Burns will second.
And Burns second. Okay. Just to recap on a couple of these, you know, we had updated board committees, and those are out on the site already, out on our board site. So I thank Mrs. Torrey for putting those out there. And then there has been an update to the remote public board meetings. And we will be putting in a new policy that will allow for emailing of comments prior to a meeting. And in the next week or so, I would assume we'll have some information out on the district website of how to do that. But I don't know if Mr. Parton, if you had any specific comments you wanted to make on that.
I think that's the biggest difference. There'll be some difference probably in the announcement at the beginning of meetings, and there'll be more means of access for the public that will be linked on the website so that everybody can see what your options are. But that is what the Department of Community Affairs is emphasizing, is that public meetings need to stay public during this time and need to stay as accessible as possible.
Okay, great. So we will, then you'll have the option not only to call in, to speak, you'll have an email option, and we'll have an email address and a timeline of when to have those in by. So those will be out on the site once we approve. Anyone on the board have any other questions or comments on either 1 or 2?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Giordano.
Yes, for number 2 with remote public board meetings, I'm glad that we're being proactive on this, but I hope we don't have to resort to Zoom meetings in the future unless it's like a large emergency. Like, I hope we don't just use this as an excuse going forward. That's all.
Okay, just for a clarification, what this policy is a way that people from the public can provide comments via email, which is not an option that's available right now. So it's providing an additional option to the public that they can provide comments to the board to be read at board meetings.
Also,
okay.
Mr. Giordano, Your point is well taken. This is not a permanent option. And actually the title of the bylaw is remote public board meeting during a declared emergency. So it's not something that can just be done on any given month. It is something that can only be done in extreme situations like what we have right now.
Okay, thank you.
Ellie?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I got one question. I forgot to ask. As far as the committee meetings, I know it was recorded. Are they going to be on the website? Because last time I looked, it wasn't there yet.
Yes, we can put it out there. I believe do we put the recordings out there, I believe?
I don't know. It's first time I've had committee
I
meetings.
don't know if we put those out there as a general rule, but
Okay, then it'll just wait. No big deal.
anyone else? Yeah, thanks, Sal. Yep. All right, if we could have a roll call, please, Mr. Mara.
Ms. Callie,
Yes.
Mr. Caro,
Yes.
Mr. DePrima,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Giordano,
Yes.
Ms. Lent,
Yes.
Mr. Solikowski,
Yes.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Ellis Foster.
Yes,
Resolution 1 and 2 pass.
thank you. And then we just have for first reading a number of mostly actually I think all mandatory policies. I don't know if Mr. Parton, I apologize, I can't remember if we went over these in the agenda, if there's anything in specific.
We went over them briefly in the agenda meeting. I don't think there's anything that really requires further discussion during the first reading in a public meeting.
Okay, good, thank you. So we shall move on to curriculum, professional development, items 1 through 4. If I can have a motion, please.
Callie move.
Callie?
Lent will second.
Ms. Flint, thank you. Any discussion or questions, comments? Okay. Seeing none, can we have a roll call, please, Mr. Mara?
Mr. DePrima? Mr. DePrima?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Giordano?
Yes.
Ms. Lent?
Yes.
Mr. Solikowski?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Ms. Callie?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Ms. Ellis Foster?
Yes,
Resolutions 1 through 4 pass.
thank you. On to athletics, we have one item. If I could have a motion, please, for athletics, number 1.
Carol motion?
I heard DeCara.
DeCaro first and Lent second? Is that what it was? DeCaro first, Lent second?
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion, comments on athletics? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please, Mr. Mara?
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Giordano?
Yes.
Ms. Lent?
Yes.
Mr. Solikowski?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Ms. Callie?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. DePrima?
Yes.
Ms. Ellis Foster?
Yes,
Resolution 1 passes.
thank you. On to finance, 1 through 12. If I can have a motion, please.
Doug will make a motion, finance items 1 through 12, Madam President.
Thank you.
Burns will
Mr. Dunn.
second.
Burns?
And
Burns?
Burns.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Burns. Any questions, comments? Okay. Let's see. All right. No questions, comments. If we could have a roll call, please, Mr. Mara.
Mr. Giordano?
Yes.
Ms. Lent?
Yes.
Mr. Solikowski?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Ms. Callie?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. DePrima? Mr. DePrima?
Mute,
You're on
Sal.
mute.
Sorry. Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Ms. Ellis Foster?
Yes,
Resolutions 1 through 12 pass.
thank you. Nothing this month or this week for non-certificated personnel office. So we will move on to non-certificated personnel operational 1 and 2. If I could have a motion, please.
Callie will move.
Callie
Burns will second.
and Mrs. Burns, second. Thank you. Any discussion, comments on 1 or 2? All right, seeing none, can we have a roll call, please, Mr. Mara?
Mr. Solikowski,
Yes.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Callie,
Yes.
Mr. Carroll,
Yes.
Mr. DePrima,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Giordano,
Yes.
Ms. Lent,
Yes.
Ms. Ellis Foster.
Yes,
Resolution 1 and 2 pass.
thank you. On to non-certificated personnel other 1 through 7. If I can have a motion, please.
Lent will move it.
Lent, second, please.
Dunn will second.
Mr. Dunn, thank you. Do we, any comments? Mr. Solikowski?
Eddie, you were supposed to say discussion. Yes.
Discussion or comments?
Yes, we have 3 retirees this month. The first one is non-certified personnel, Sherry Resnick. She, as Shar School paraprofessional aide, 13 years of service. Certified personnel, we have Susan Mazur, Carl Sandburg Middle School Science, 34 years, and Donna Grundy, Carl Sandburg, Junior Self Middle School with 33 years of service. A total of 80 years of service for the 3 ladies. I wish you a lot of luck and enjoy your retirement. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for non-certificated personnel other? All right, seeing nothing, if we could have a roll call, please, Mr. Mara.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Callie,
Yes.
Mr. Carroll,
Yes.
Mr. DePrima,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Giordano,
Yes.
Ms. Lent,
Yes.
Mr. Solikowski,
Yes.
Ms. Ellis Foster.
Yes,
Resolutions 1 through 7 pass.
thank you. On to certificated personnel 1 through 16. If I can have a motion, please.
Dunn will make a motion. Certificated personnel items 1 through 17?
16.
16.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Could I have a second, please?
Giordano, second.
Thank you, Mr. Giordano. Any questions, comments?
And discussion?
Discussion.
Yes, yes.
Discussion. Mr. Giordano.
Miss Mazur was my 8th grade teacher, so I thank her specifically and specially on her years of service and wish her the best going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? So I wish all 3 who are retiring, thank you for your service and enjoy the well-deserved time you put in. So thank you. And if we could have a roll call, Mr. Merrill, please.
Mr. Carroll,
Yes.
Mr. DePrima,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Giordano,
Yes.
Ms. Lent,
Yes.
Mr. Solikowski,
Yes.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Callie,
I am abstaining on item 5A and 16C. Otherwise, yes.
Ms. Ellis Foster.
Yes,
Resolutions 1 through 16 pass.
thank you. Nothing on non-certificated personnel transportation or supplies, equipment, and services. Brings us to miscellaneous, transportation, 1 through 4. If I can have a motion, please.
Lent will move it.
Thank you, Mrs. Lentz. Can I have a second?
Burns will second.
Thank you, Mrs. Burns. Any questions, comments, or discussion? If none, can we have a roll call, please, Mr. Mara?
Mr. Giordano,
Yes.
Ms. Lent,
Yes.
Mr. Solikowski,
Yes.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Callie,
Yes.
Mr. Caro,
Yes.
Mr. DePrima,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Ms. Ellis Foster.
Yes,
Resolutions 1 through 4 pass.
thank you. If we, next is miscellaneous, 1 through 7. If I can have a motion, please.
Callie will move.
Thank you, Mrs. Kelly.
Lent will second.
And Mrs. Lent, second. Thank you. Any questions, comments, discussions on 1 through 7? Okay, if none. If we could have a roll call, please, Mr. Mara?
Ms. Lent,
Yes.
Mr. Solikowski,
Yes.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Callie,
Yes.
Mr. Caro,
Yes.
Mr. DePrima,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Giordano,
Abstain 1, yes, 2 through 7.
Ms. Alice Foster.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 7 pass.
Okay, and board secretary and board business. Number 1, if I can have a motion, please.
Lent will move it.
Oh, Len, okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Sorry.
It was you breaking up or was me, but it might have been me. All right, Ms. Len, thank you. Can I have a second?
Burns will second.
Yes, second, thank you. Any comments, discussions, questions?
Ms. Alice Foster, generally I read resolution number 1
Please do.
aloud. So number 1, under board secretary and board business, move the Board of Education acknowledge the official results of the 2020 Board of Education election. Mr. Matthew Solikowski received 14,915 votes. Ms. Jill DeCaro received 11,793 votes, and Mr. Frank Weber received 11,403 votes. Congratulations to those 3 board members. Vote getters, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, any questions, comments, discussion? Oh, Mrs. Callie, sorry, I see you waving your hand, yes.
I just wanted to officially congratulate Jill and Matt. And those are record-breaking numbers, by the way. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, both of you. Welcome back, Frank, if you're listening.
Okay. Well, I do want to congratulate, Matt and Jill and also Mr. Weber. But I do want to take an opportunity to thank Ms. Lent. She has been just, a wonder on the board. She always makes us ask questions. She is open-minded. She always, you were, just I think an asset on the board. So thank you for your time. And I'd also just like to acknowledge Allison Voss, who also ran. Nobody does this and goes out and puts themselves out. It's always an effort. It's hard to do. So congratulations, both of you ladies. And hopefully we still will hear from you. So thank you. If nothing else, can we have a roll call, Mr. Mayor, please?
Mr. Solikowski,
Yes.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Callie,
Yes.
Mr. Caro,
Yes.
Mr. DePrima,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Giordano,
Yes.
Ms. Lent,
Yes.
Ms. Alice Foster.
Yes,
Resolution 1 passes.
thank you. And now we are on to hearing of the residents on any district topic. If you are on Zoom, just raise your hand and I can unmute you. If you are on the phone, hit *9. And we can get you unmuted also. Okay, so, all right, let me get over here. All right, so our first person up, I see Mrs. Fournier. I just unmuted you. If you unmute yourself, you should be able to speak.
Yes, I just noticed one of the policy things on the seizure action plan. My daughter has epilepsy, so I was just wondering what the change was, if there was a change. It just caught my eye, and I was curious what that was.
Mr. Parton?
The primary change, Ms. Fournier, is that the parents are required to work with the school and the school district to make sure that you submit any information that you have from your medical home with regard to seizure response plans, just to make sure that everybody knows what they need to know in case they have an incident during school hours.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up, I see Mrs. Garcia. I just unmuted you, so you should be able to speak.
Perfect. Forgive me if I'm wrong here, but I didn't hear a mention of Mrs. Whitford in the retirees. And forgive me if one of the ones mentioned were her maiden name, but I do think we should thank her for her service in the Old Bridge school system. And she's a phenomenal teacher and she will be missed.
Okay, thank you. I don't know, Dr. Hoker, I don't know.
Yes, from Jonas Salk.
Yeah, she may have been on a prior agenda.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yes, she was on the agenda in October.
In October. Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Okay. Because we certainly don't want to miss any of our.
Right, we don't want to miss them, and for sure you can't retire until you're on this list, so we wouldn't have missed you, but congratulations to all of the teachers that are retiring. I had the pleasure of being the principal for Miss Whitford and Miss Grundine. Class, wonderful teachers. Can't say enough good things about them. So they're going to be missed in the classroom, and they're certainly going to be missed by their colleagues.
Okay, well, I'm just looking at this time. I do not see any other hand raises. So at this time, we will close the public comment portion. And on to old business. Any old business? Any old business? Any new business?
I actually have a question for Mr. Parton. Our previous caller who had a question about the epilepsy policy, how do we get the policies out there to affected parents?
The policies are linked to your website. As far as direct communication with parents who are affected because of their children's conditions, that would go through Dr. Tui's department. There is already articulation between the school district and the families. It will just be slightly different.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
What I'll do for Mrs. Lent, I will talk to Audrey Baker, who is our nursing coordinator, and she'll give you a, the medical plan for, how the medical plan is developed for the students and how that information is shared, and then how we deal with the information as it comes back to us and getting the information out to the professionals in place that need to know.
All right, any order of the good? Does somebody have a hand up?
Yes.
I was raising this.
Okay, Mr. Giordano.
Yes, first off, I'd like to say at the local level, the administration is doing a great job keeping us safe and following the advice of the health guidelines. However, at the state level, we have to remember that we do have a constitution and we do have to respect the rights of people to do what they want to do with their own risk. So some orders that we have been seeing in the state, like curfews, or like even saying how many people you can have in your own home seems like an overreach of the government, and people just have to be aware of that. Going forward, it's true, we have to question and challenge that. And we do have a vaccine coming up, so I would assume things are going to go back to normal pretty soon, and I hope they do. And diet, exercise, vitamin C, zinc, keep yourself healthy, be calm, stay wise. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, I will be setting up a curriculum meeting on December the 8th, which is a Tuesday. And I'll sit down with Dr. Tui and go over the agenda, okay? And we will publicize that. Is Joanne here? Yes, she is.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Filkowski. Anyone else?
Madam President,
Mr. Dunn?
so, everyone is concerned about the resurgence of COVID virus 19. And there's a lot of questioning regarding, what the administration and the board is currently doing. And I can say unequivocally that the decisions that I made is in the best interest at this time for our district. Obviously, Mr. Cittadino made it very clear that we're having staffing issues and other issues pertaining to our correct operation of our district. And you know what, being a chief here in Old Bridge myself, I see the data just as Dave sees it. And there is a very large increase in cases. And Middlesex County is one of the most infected counties in the state of New Jersey. So the precautions that we are taking, is disconcerting for some. And also for me, who, I'm a big advocate of getting kids back in school and having them learn in person. However, for the next 2 weeks, obviously with the holidays upon us over the next 2 to 4 weeks, this is the prudent decision. And we ought to just, go with it right now. And hopefully by the 19th, we'll be in a position where we've gotten over the hump and the berm, and we'll be able to get back to in-person learning. I agree, in-person learning is essential. However, the next 4 weeks with everyone getting together and people still, exercising their constitutional rights to gather as a family and to celebrate, this decision by the district is appropriate and very important to keep everyone safe. With that said, I want to wish everyone a wonderful and thankful and terrific Thanksgiving holiday. We have a lot to look back to for 2020. It's been one of those difficult years, and this is the time you should savor and love your families and give thanks for where we're at today and that we've overcome such difficult hurdles. I want to thank everyone for bearing and dealing with the situation and working together as a great community that we are as Old Bridge Strong. So with that said, again, happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and enjoy your family-oriented holiday.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Anyone else? You just want to just either unmute or just raise your hand so I can. Sure.
Yes, this flew over my head at the last meeting. Mr. Dunn, congratulations on your accomplishments with the what you're doing with the I guess the fire department and everything else. Thank you for your time and your service. Okay.
Man, I appreciate it. And you know what? One thing that's very dear to my heart is community service, and being the department chief of the South Old Bridge Fire Department is a monumental responsibility, and I'm looking forward to accomplishing that. And I can tell you unequivocally that it's a very important and dear responsibility to my heart, just like the Board of Ed is as well. So I wear many hats, but I'm for the community just like you are, Matt, and I appreciate your service and congratulations again on being reelected.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. DeCara.
So I really just wanted to say thank you to the reentry task force and administrators and everyone that was involved in the decision to that we had to make to go all remote. It was an extremely difficult decision, and taking all things considered with the presentation that Mr. Cittadino gave us today, I just want to say thank you. It was such a difficult decision, but it was one that needed to happen to keep not only to keep everyone safe, but to man the classrooms because of our staffing issues. So I would just want to, remind everyone to please stay safe, wear your masks, try to social distance as much as you can, do the best you can. We're all in this together, and we need to fight this this virus together as a team. Team Old Bridge, Team New Jersey, Team USA, whatever that is. We're all human beings. We need to fight this together and, try to get past it. And the only way we're going to get past this is if we work together and try to stave off the infection rates. So with that being said, we're moving into the holidays. I want everyone, I wish everyone to have a wonderful Thanksgiving in whatever fashion you choose to have it. And just please stay safe. Thank you.
Anyone else? This is Callie.
Wanted to wish everybody a safe and a healthy Thanksgiving, and again, thank our great administrators and our wonderful staff for everything that they do. This has been extremely difficult on everybody, and I'm thankful that we have all of you working so hard for us. And pray for me because I'm cooking Thanksgiving for the first time. Stay safe, everybody.
Thanks, Ms. Kelly. Anyone else?
I go?
Mrs. Blunt? Yep, Ms. Blunt.
I just wanted to congratulate Matt and Jill. You guys did a fantastic job. Congratulations on being reelected. Congratulations, Rich, on becoming chief. And I want to tell everyone to have a very happy and healthy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family and time. That's it, real quick.
Thank you.
Lisa, we'll see you next year when you rerun and win the election, okay?
I don't know, Matt, but I'll definitely see you again.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anyone else? We're all good?
Just happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Be safe. Enjoy your special time with your family, and there's light at the end of this tunnel. We're coming through this. We're going to get to the other side of this. In the spring, we were on the long side of it. Now we're on the short side of it. I see promise there. And we're just all out of balance right now. The world is out of balance. There's poverty, there's illness. We're going to get the balance, and we're all going to be in a better place very soon. So think positive thoughts and stick together. Have a great weekend, everyone.
All right, thank you, everyone. So before we close into executive session, because I understand we have a short one, I just want to reiterate some of the things that were said. I am thankful for the people who run Old Bridge School District, our teachers, who are doing just a phenomenal job, and our paras, keeping our kids going. I know the difficulty, and our bus drivers, our maintenance, our nurses, the whole school community, the parents, taking on the roles that you never planned on doing. So I'm thankful for all that. I hope everyone stays healthy this holiday season. And as others said, enjoy the time that you have with your loved ones, however that looks this year. And with that, we are going into closed session for a short one, I hope. Mr. Parton?
Yes, an executive session for matters of property disposition, personnel, and litigation.
And we will not rejoin the public afterwards. So if I could have a motion, please, for executive session, closed session.
Lent will move it.
Or will second.
No,
I can't win.
the course.
Give it to Jill. That's fine. Give
Who's
it
the
to
second, Kelly?
Well, I will say Callie, because I just heard Kelly. So we're going to go with that one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We're going into executive session at 8:48 p.m.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Please be safe. Wear a mask.